Hey there YouTube, welcome to the Prototype Museum here in Hamburg in Germany, where I'm going to be playing F1 2019. Now it's a preview event and the game's not actually finished yet, so I'm not allowed to show you the game itself in terms of footage that I've captured, so what you're going to see is some B-roll instead, given to me by Codemasters. But I still am going to play it today. I'm going to try the Senna vs Prost content, which is new for the first time in the series, or indeed any game ever. They've never been licensed in the same game together, as far as I can tell. So I'm excited about that. Also new for this series is the Formula 2 content, so I'm going to try Formula 2 cars, and of course 2019 season cars for this game, which should be awesome. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so first let's look at the modern 2019 content. The game of course gives you all 10 teams, 20 drivers and 21 racetracks of the 2019 Formula 1 season, and something that's pretty amazing if you've been playing the game a lot recently, at last we've got new cutscenes after the races. Yep, that's right, no more of that champagne bottle bump. I was waiting for it to happen and it didn't, so that's awesome. In fact, the career mode actually has story scenes, which are reminiscent of Toko Race Driver, with actual characterization, which includes a rival for you. Now that's an interesting choice. I've personally been saying for years that Formula 1 games, and indeed racing games in general, would benefit from having a rivalry system because it gets you more into the game, gets you more engaged. And Formula 1 games have had something like that for the last few years. There was a rival side mode a few years ago, and then the career mode had a Super Monaco Grand Prix style system recently, but now you have an actual rival who talks to you. So that's interesting. Now I reserve the right to wait until I've played the full game to pass judgment on how well it works, because these cutscenes look a little awkward at present, but it could go either way, and it'll be interesting to see at least. The racing is seriously very, very good. And if you can afford to take things seriously yourself and get a Fanatec race wheel to play it with, the realism is incredible. I actually tried Fanatec's new direct drive wheel at this preview event, and while F1 car's steering is reportedly at least comparatively light, with the force feedback strength turned up, I was constantly saying, wow, this is brilliant, because I was wrestling the car around Monaco. Again, I'm not allowed to show you my own footage of the game as it's still in development, but believe me when I say it feels wonderful with a wheel and pedal setup. I will have a separate video about this specific Fanatec direct drive wheel on my channel soon, so look out for that. But back to the game itself. While the modern F1 season has that new personality in its career mode, things don't actually start in Formula 1. No, this year you get to race in Formula 2, which is an all-new inclusion for the series, and while you may well shout, GP2 engine, GP2 engine, like Fernando Alonso, at the slower and heavier cars and their more laboured steering, they pose a genuinely new gameplay challenge, and that extra depth afforded by participating in academy events and aiming for your favourite choice of F1 team when you finally break through is a far tastier prospect than the recent years where you just had a young driver's day. Here you get to race against the 4 current Formula 1 drivers who are actually racing in Formula 2 last year, so that sense of progression and coming up alongside them is going to make for a much deeper experience. But it's also deeper because you'll be experiencing team orders for the first time, where your pit crew will radio to tell you to let your teammate through, perhaps, and it's up to you to decide whether or not to follow that or to risk jeopardizing your career to get the result on the day, so that's really interesting. Another area that the game has been massively improved is in the eSports arena. So eSports is going to be ratcheted up still further. You'll be able to set up your own league now with friends, even holding votes between you and your friends over whether or not to change a race's start if someone's got to walk the dog, for example, of course. Stats will also track your progress, the number of times that you didn't attend a planned race, and how well you've performed against your peers. You'll also be shown automatically generated replays after each race in highlights reels reminiscent of FIFA or Mario Kart. Perhaps Hamilton will become a meme like Luigi, it's too early to say right now. If you're playing on PC, you'll be able to export those highlight clips as video files, but sadly not on consoles, which is a shame. Okay, so what about the Senna and Prost content? Well, the Senna and Prost content is not in the standard anniversary edition of the game, which celebrates 10 years of Codemasters holding the official Formula 1 license. Instead, you need to buy the Legends edition. Now, the Legends edition has the added bonus of coming out a few days early, that is the 25th of June as opposed to the 28th of June. Now, only one single challenge was available to try at the event with Senna and Prost, and that saw you play as either Senna or Prost and participate in their most famous of Senna versus Prost battles. You know, the one where they had a few minutes to overtake 9 Lotus 78s at Monza. Yeah? What? You don't remember that? No, that's because it never happened. So this Senna and Prost mode, so far we've only seen one event and it's not actually reminiscent of anything they actually did. And what's worse, it's at modern Monza. You pass a DRS sign. So it's like using old cars for invitationals instead of actually recreating famous moments from the sport's greatest ever rivalry. And you even get the modern pit guy on the radio too. And considering that Ferrari is showing Agip, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Agip. The Ferrari is showing Agip advertising, so there's no excuse for the trackside displaying the later Ini instead. You know, there's a clash there. It's an anachronism. So either this is some kind of weird timeline where Senna didn't die, or both drivers have travelled into the future to take part in some retro race. It's hard to license entire seasons of past cars and drivers, I know, and building old tracks like Adelaide or Manicourt, as they were, would be a lot of work, but surely that's what's needed here. Again, I'm going to save my judgment for the finished game because I've only tried this one event, but based on the evidence, the Senna and Prost content might be a little disappointing. But what isn't disappointing, at least, is the sound when you drive the two classic cars. Senna's McLaren has its famous razor-sharp howl, while Prost's Ferrari is throaty and roars as you feed in the power. They both look absolutely gorgeous too, especially as the heat haze distorts their beautiful lines in the external replay angles. Well, as I stand gawping at this Porsche 718-202, which drove in the 1960 World Championship, so awesome. I have to say goodbye. Thanks very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, then do check out my channel for more racing content. I've got virtual racing stuff going on at the moment, as well as other things, so take a look around, you should see something you like. And hit like and subscribe, and leave me a comment as well what you think about the classic content, because it's very interesting, definitely, and I really hope that the game makes the most of it, so we'll see. Anyway, take care, I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.